Hello and welcome to the video study guide for Alabama Shakespeare Festival's production of And Then They Came For Me, Remembering the World of Anne Frank. I'm Vivienne and I'm an acting fellow at ASF. I play Ava Schloss.
And I'm George and I'm also an acting fellow and I play Pappy.
In this video, we'll be introducing information about the play and the production you will see. This season, And Then They Came For Me, is directed by Addie Gorlin. Gorlin is known for directing plays for all ages and welcomes young people and adults to experience her work.
And Then They Came For Me takes place across Western Europe during Hitler's Nazi regime. Adolf Hitler was elected Chancellor of Germany in 1933 after running as a member of the Nazi Party. By the next year, his democratic leadership had morphed into dictatorship, and Nazi forces soon began to invade and occupy much of the European continent.
When the Nazis reached Poland in 1939, Great Britain and France declared war on Germany, beginning World War II. The US and the Soviet Union joined forces with Great Britain and France, forming an alliance known as the Allied Forces. The Allies would remain embroiled in war with the Axis powers, Germany, Italy, and Japan, until Hitler's death in 1945.
From his rise to power in 1933, Hitler began a systematic persecution of Jews, taking away their businesses and excluding them from high-profile jobs. In 1935, these practices became legalized under the Nuremberg laws. These laws stripped Jews of their citizenship and made it difficult for them to do everyday tasks, like buy groceries or take the train.
Starting in 1941, Jews from across Europe were deported to Polish ghettos where overpopulation and poor living conditions exposed them to disease, hunger, and poverty. By the end of the year, German forces began transporting Jews from the ghettos to concentration camps.
In camps such as Auschwitz, Majdanek, and Treblinka, millions of Jews and other prisoners were murdered by forced labor, starvation, and toxic gas chambers. Despite the massive scale of violence enacted by the Nazis, the world turned a blind eye.
By war's end, more than 6 million Jews had perished under Hitler's order, a genocide now known as the Holocaust.
During the war, a young girl named Anne Frank and her family attempted to take refuge in Amsterdam. When the Frank family was eventually forced into hiding, Anne kept a detailed diary of her day-to-day life in the secret annex.
In 1944, after 25 months in hiding, Anne and her family were discovered and deported to the Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp. Her father, Otto Frank, was the only member of the family to survive.
When Otto Frank returned to Amsterdam after the war, he discovered Anne's diary had been recovered by a family friend. In 1947, he published his daughter's writing, giving readers across the world access to a first-hand account of life for Jews under Nazi occupation. The Diary of Anne Frank has now sold millions of copies worldwide and been adapted for the stage and screen. It continues to tell Anne's story to young people of today.
And Then They Came For Me tells the true stories of two of Anne Frank's childhood friends, Ava Schloss and Ed Silverberg, as they navigate growing up in Europe under Hitler's Nazi regime.
In 1938, Ava and her family are forced to flee Nazi occupation of Austria. That same year, Ed's parents send him away from Hitler's Germany to seek refuge with his grandparents.
Both Ava and Ed eventually find themselves in Amsterdam, where they befriend the young and imaginative Anne. But in 1942, she simply disappears.
When asked why the story of Ava and Ed still resonates today, director Addie Gorlin noted, according to a 2018 article in Newsweek, 1/3 of Americans don't believe that 6 million Jews were murdered during the Holocaust. As this year marks the 75th anniversary of World War II's end and the liberation of concentration camp survivors, I want to ensure that young people today leave this production with proof that A, the Holocaust did occur, and B, it affected the lives of humans, over 6 million of them. Decades after the war's end, And Then They Came For Me playwright James Still interviewed Ava and Ed on their memories on the Holocaust and their time with Anne Frank. Much of the play is adapted from those interviews, and real video clips of Ava and Ed are incorporated into the production.
Why do you think James Still chose to include real clips of these interviews in this play? How would the play be different if all the text was spoken by actors on stage?
When asked how she prepared for this production, Gorlin wrote, We wanted people to feel like the story was in the past, but also so deeply resonated with our current day. So the designers and myself started with many conversations about how to span and blend worlds from the 1930s to the present. That's why all the storytellers' base layers look like you might see them on the street today, but then they put on period costumes which will locate them in history. Similarly, you'll notice the baggage also spans from the 1930s to the present day, as does the fence. The fence could serve as both the limit of a concentration camp and the border along the US and Mexico.
As a foreword to his script, James still includes the Bible verse, "Take heed lest you forget the things which your eyes have seen, and teach them to your children and to your children's children." Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 9. Before you attend the play, consider why he chose to include this text. What does it tell you about his intentions in writing this piece?
As you continue to prepare for the performance, don't forget to check out our free study guide to asf.net under the Education tab. We can't wait for you to join us for our 2019-2020 festival season.
See you soon!